I'd like to know is, like you said, people, and like I said, I'm a man, so I have a total different perspective in it. And y'all, like I said, 1 out of 4 people, and Angela feels like it's even higher than that as far as African American women. And I just read a statistic that supports pretty much what she says there. And it said that I think one of the number 1 causes of death for black women between 15 to 35 is domestic violence. That is a alarming, absolutely crazy number right there. That is, I mean, that's pretty shameful there. For that to be the number 1 cause.
I think it comes from. I think you look at it from the standpoint of people then view the person that they're with as property, right? You become that person's property. It's not about love; it's about ownership. Those situations where they feel like they are entitled to your person, they're entitled to your autonomy. So it doesn't matter what you want or say; they're going to do what they want to do. So if you want to leave, then it's a problem. You know, as I say, then it becomes an issue. It becomes deadly. It becomes violent because they don't want you to leave. They don't want you. They don't envision a world where they aren't in power and ownership of you. So then they feel like if I can't be with this person, then nobody's going to have her. I'm just going to erase this person.
Like property. And
exactly, they look at you like property.
And for some reason, I read, and I forgot where it came from. It was, I think it was the host for Alma's show, the Dinner for Divas event that she had over the weekend. And she had my man Sterling K. Brown. He actually played Christopher Darden in the OJ story. And he also has another show on NBC right now. But he actually was saying that he actually was digging. He had dug a little deep on that topic, and he was saying it actually came probably from. I mean, if you think about it, probably slavery. You know what I mean? From way back. That, I know it sounds crazy, but it's got to have some kind of mental. That whole corporal punishment thing. That whole mindset that we have of control, even though it was put on us, and we turned around and did the same thing, you know, with possibly our family members or, you know, our wife or our children, and the corporal punishment, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I'm not going to get into the whole punishment of children, you know what I mean? Because that's how we grew up, you know what I mean? My mom, you know what I'm saying, she would whip that tail if necessary. But, you know, there's a lot of philosophy on that. You know what I mean? Was that the right thing to do? Is it the most effective thing when it comes to disciplining your child? You know what I mean? And that's the children thing. But doing the same thing, is that what's projecting what makes a man do that with his wife? That same type of mindset? Like you're thinking that you're disciplining your wife? You know?
Right. They don't look at you as an autonomous being. They look at you as something that they own or have to take care of, or, you know, essentially like you're their child, and they talk to you in that manner. They talk to you and treat you in a manner that people would kind of find archaic, but, you know, the way some people talk and beat their children.
Right. Wow. Man. It's a tough topic here. But it's real. And it needs to be said. The dialogue needs to go out there. This is definitely a real show. I'm happy that, you know, you joined us here. So after you got into that marriage and you went on and decided to, you know what I'm saying, see if, you know, if he was worthy to, you know, continue on and being in this relationship and get married to him, and, you know, possibly he will change. At what point was there a breaking point? Was it continuous physical abuse, verbal abuse, or just a culmination of everything else that got you out of that situation?
I think it was a culmination of things, but I think it was just, it was a few different things that kind of led up to that. My mom she'll be 56 in August, but my mom is she had stomach cancer about 2 years ago. And at that point, she was living about 2 hours from me in Houston, but we'd always lived in the same town except when I was away at college. And when she got sick, and he basically refused to kind of be there for me. I had to take off from work, and it just seemed as if he didn't care. And so I think it already had started to crack there. And I can remember my mom, before she went into surgery, because they were like, you're not going to need chemo. We're just going to remove, you know, the tumor, and you should be fine. We'll see about chemo. And I can remember her, you know, before she was getting sedated or whatever, she grabbed my hand and she was like, no matter what happens to me, I want you to know you're going to be okay. I can feel it. She was like, something on my spirit told me to tell you that. She's like, yeah, I just want you to know that you're strong and you're going to be okay, no matter what happens to me.
Wow.
And obviously she's fine, and she got out of the hospital and was back at home, and I came back home here. And I guess backstory, when we got married, he wanted to start having kids right away, and we had trouble conceiving, and this went on for a while, and I think maybe towards the end of that, right after she had had her surgery and everything, maybe about 3 months after that, he and I had gotten into an argument. We had a birthday party for a friend. We had a surprise party, and we threw it at our house because we had a home and not an apartment, so it was a little easier with the noise and stuff. So we threw a birthday party for a friend of ours. And a guy that I used to date very long before I actually met my husband or was ever dating him, but I guess they didn't like each other, was at the party, which is fine. It was for my cousin. We invited all of his friends. I did not talk to that man, did not have his phone number or anything like that. So we're at the party, and when the party's over, the birthday boy, he was like, well, can I get a picture of everybody together? Basically, whoever was left over after the party kind of ended, his actual, close friends. So we all get together in a picture. Well, the guy that I used to date kind of stood next to me in the picture. He didn't touch me or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
My husband put everyone out of the house. He was like, yo, I got to go. Get the F out of here. Just clears everybody out and gets upset out of nowhere. Everyone is confused. Everyone's clearing out. My cousin, who was the birthday boy, he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I think so. I don't know what he's angry about or whatever. I was like, but I'm good. I closed the door, and I kid you not, I turned around, and he hit me so hard that I, flew over the couch. Just he backhanded me so hard, I flew over the back of the couch and hit the coffee table.
Wow.
And he basically called me a disloyal bee and said that I shouldn't have been near him.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was just and I started bleeding, not from my head or anything, but I started having some vaginal bleeding. So I went to the doctor a couple of days after that, and I found out I miscarried.
Oh man.
And at that point, I realized that it was time to go. I had to find a way to get rid of him, to leave, because if I'd been making smarter decisions, I would still have my baby. And that was the thought that I had.
Wow.
And so that, with what my mom said, I knew I had to do better for myself. You have to come to that epiphany where it's I have to get out of here before he kills me.
Okay. All right. Alma. I think Alma has joined in. It's *6 to unmute the line. Alma. I just got Lauren's text as well. But welcome, Alma G. Davis of the Alma G. Davis Foundation. She actually has joined us on the line as well. And she, like I said, I've known her for a long time. Her family went to school with her sister, and I met her a long time ago. And I met her mom. And she actually has created this foundation. And I'm surprised because I've known her as a young lady in her 20s. And then I look and say, wow, you did all of this. So I'm happy to have, researched and found that she's done so much. She's, had all kinds of awards and medals, and she's put on a highly successful event over the weekend, which was the Dinner for Divas event that went on here. And it looked like it was very well attended. So, Alma, how are you doing today? It's *6 to unmute. Okay, well.
Hi, Kysii. How are you?
Okay, you're there. Hey, how are you? How's it going there?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
All right, yeah. So welcome. So you were able to hear us, right? I think Lauren was saying you were having okay. Mm-hmm. All right, yes, that's good. Yeah, so that's VJ Burton, co-host here on the show. My wife Angela is also here on the line. So it's me. Okay. And now 3 women who are on the line and because my wife actually said that, because at first it was me and number one Chief Rock and Jersey Vern, and we're men, and we have a whole different perspective. She was like, where the ladies at? So now it's the other tides have turned, and I feel like this is now a better mix here. So glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. First off, I want to talk about because we're going to talk about your event. How did you get started first with creating your foundation there? Like what was it? I know.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yes. So from what I read is that you had a situation when you were younger, and you got to this certain point where you felt the need, that passion, that what's the word? The purpose in you to actually create this foundation.
Yes. So mine went all the way back to childhood, meaning I saw domestic violence in the home. And so what happens so often, children don't have a voice, and they grow up in these households and these situations, and that becomes their norm because that's what they're taught. Also, there are also so many lack of resources when you have children that grow up in these type of environment. So they do not know what's functional, what's a normal relationship, what's healthy, how things are supposed to be. And so because I grew up in that type of household, that's what I learned on how you disagree in an argument or when you're with a significant other or a boyfriend or girlfriend. So at the age of 14, I had my first set of black eyes from another 14-year-old boy who that's what he saw every day at home. So that's what we knew. And that's how we resolved issues. It wasn't as if we there's an inkling of this is not normal, this can't be the only way, but when you know better, you do better. When you're not offered resources or help, and I grew up, we've all grown up to where, what goes on in the house stays in the house. And so that became our functional norm. And it wasn't until I was 23 and had my first daughter that I said, no, my daughter would not repeat that cycle. And I dedicated my life to, first of all, understanding, becoming an expert in the field of domestic violence, understanding domestic violence, what takes place, the mental control, the financial control, the sexual control, all of those things, even prior to the physical. So understanding the reasons why people get into it, and decided to start a foundation almost 13 years ago to combat it and give survivors, whether they're male or female, even children, the tools they need to get out of the situation and to not go back, and even how to break out of that kind of cycle once you've grown up in that type of situation. Right.
Now, as far as your organization, like I said, it's widely popular here, especially in our area. Are there other organizations? I'm just curious, because I know that it's a huge issue, not just our country, but just for people in general, and especially in our African American community. It's a huge issue just in general. But is there enough resources and help out there for people to if they're facing this?
And that's that you just said a mouthful. That's the problem. The issue outnumbers the resources. And number one, the first problem is we don't acknowledge it. We don't talk about it. We do not, as a society, acknowledge that this is something that's happening all the time. So every 9 seconds, a woman or female is abused. Every 9 seconds. The statistics are 1 out of 4 females, 1 out of 7 males, because it just doesn't happen to women. We hear about it more with women because 85% of victims are women. But it's 1 out of 4 women, 1 out of 7 males, but only 5% of cases are reported. So if we got real numbers, like from the other 95%, the true numbers are more like 1 out of 2 women, 1 out of 4 males. So because we don't educate people enough, we don't talk about it, we don't make this an epidemic like other things, then the resources are not out there from a monetary perspective down to being limited on what you can do, and people not understanding the issue, so they're not backing the support. So that's one of the huge issues that we see.